What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from Brewery Ommegang, and they are out of Cooperstown, New York, and this is their Manhattan Shine. So this is a bourbon barrel aged amber ale with natural flavors. It comes in at 12% alcohol by volume, 19 IBUs at the time of review. This bottle is just under 3 months old and also has a please enjoy by date of June 6th of 2025, so they give a year on this one. And I picked this one up because I've been seeing this one maybe the last 3 to 6 months on the shelves, and I was like, I don't know if that's like a new release or whatever. And then finally I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna buy it. I bought this. I bought their new Oktoberfest beer, which I'm going to be reviewing by the end of the month, and then also their All Hallows Treat, which is their their take on like it's not a pumpkin beer, but it's like for the Halloween season, and I'll probably review that before I do the 10 Days of Pumpkin at the end of October. But anyway, I picked this one up. Apparently it's a year-round release. I had no idea, and what they're going for is a Manhattan cocktail in beer form. I've had a Manhattan once before, and while I enjoyed the flavors of it, it was a bit too boozy for me. I think a Manhattan's kind of like 30 or 40% ABV, depending on how it's made. This is like 1/3 of that ABV, so if they can take the flavors of Manhattan and condense it at 12% barrel-aged beer, like, I'm into it. We'll see. I have no idea, though. And again, they used to say, if you go to the website, they say this one is brewed with, I think it's cherry and orange flavors. Then now they just say natural flavors as a whole. But yeah, and I don't know if this is like they're using like their house yeast strain or a Belgian yeast strain. If this is supposed to be like an imperial Belgian Amber Ale, or is this supposed to be a dark, strong dark, or a quad, or none of the above? I have no idea, but we're using the hashtag proper glassware because why not? So we're going to give this a pour here into the Ommegang glass. Go a little bit more aggressive here to try to get a nice head, which I have succeeded a little bit too much maybe. Oh, no. Perfection is what happened there. Pour the rest of this in. All right, so I'm curious to see how this one goes out. Now that is a fucking beautiful beer. That is absolutely gorgeous. In the hashtag proper glassware, that looks fucking like it just looks beautiful. Just looks beautiful. Just gonna have to take a moment and just admire the look of this beer. What does the appearance mean? Not much when it comes to anything, food, drink, but you see, you drink and you eat with your eyes. So something like this just very enticing. But yeah, this has really like this muddy kind of brownish, reddish color. Hold it up to a light. At the bottom here, I'm getting like mahogany and like lighter red tinges, but like the middle of it's like a darker brown. Has a finger to slightly over a finger of this straight up, we'll say brown colored head. I was gonna say maybe khaki or tan, but on camera maybe. In person, it's more of like a light brown, I'd say. Very creamy looking. Doesn't look soap sudsy or anything. It just looks fucking divine. If you want a better look of how the beer looks outside of the logo and whatnot, it just looks really nice. Definitely looks like, we'll call that amber. Yeah, it's an amber ale. It looks amber. But yeah, looks really nice. Anyway, let's get a nose. It's reminiscent of a Manhattan, at least the one that I had. I'm getting cherry. I'm getting a little bit like orange. I think they use bitters, right? And man, listen, I'm not a cocktail guy. I'm not a spirit guy. You'll probably never see reviews of like bourbon or whiskey or anything on my channel, or any kind of mocktails or actual cocktails, or like the canned cocktails. I like beer, okay? I might branch out and do like ciders and meads and shit down the line because I like those. But it smells what I remember kind of a Manhattan being. It has like I think they use bitters. I don't know if they use orange bitters or you can use orange bitters, but it has like that orangey kind of cherry kind of note. Definitely barrel aged bourbon for sure. It has like a peppery, spicy kind of bourbon, so like caramel, toffee, a little bit of vanilla and oak. They call it an amber ale, technically imperial amber ale. I'm not really getting like anything outside of what I mentioned. Like, I'm not really getting like any kind of Belgian yeast strain in here. Nothing from the yeast, honestly, that I can detect. Maybe a little bit of like a breadiness from the base beer. Maybe. Yeah, it's cherry, it's orange, it's barrel aged, so it has that peppery kind of bourbon, peppery whiskey. Then it has a little bit of the vanilla and oak you get from the barrels. It smells really good. It doesn't smell like it's 12%. Yeah, let's get into it. Cheers, everybody. That's nice. The finish is really cool. It's almost like a cherry vanilla finish. In fact, I think I mentioned this recently in a review. When I first got this Firestone Walker Brewing Company bottle opener, I would occasionally smell it. And it was brand new, so it gave off like a slight vanilla oaky thing. Now it doesn't smell like anything, but it used to. That's kind of what it tastes like. It tastes like the barrel of a spirit, and in this case, a bourbon or a whiskey. Shout out to the motorcycle going by. Buying this for 12% is appropriate. I'd say it's medium full bodied. It's not like super viscous and over the top, but it has a heft there that kind of, if I was doing this blind, I'd guess at least, probably 10.5%, 11%, maybe 12, depends. The mouthfeel, it's very reminiscent of a lot of these Belgian beers that I drink that are, they have that effervescent kind of like moderate carbonation. This is more like mild to moderate, more approaching moderate carbonation, but it's smooth and creamy at the same time. The taste is very bready at the forefront. Dark bread. Yeah, dark bread for sure. Like a pumpernickel, something in that realm. Dives underneath the palate, and then I'm getting hit with a lot of cherry and orange for me. It's not over the top, but it's definitely sweeter cherry and orange, like almost like a candied like orange peel. And like a maraschino cherry. Halfway through, I get the bourbon. It's peppery, spicy bourbon. There's caramel, there's toffee, maybe even a little bit of molasses, like a Scotia maple. It's sweeter, sweeter like caramelized sugars. But I'm getting this spiciness too that's almost like a pumpkin pie spice-esque kind of feel, like an allspice or maybe like a cardamom or something like that. It definitely has like a spiciness to it that isn't like black or white pepper or like coriander, or maybe it's a little bit of clove, but like a clove, allspice, cardamom, something like that. Really cool. This is very dry on the finish. This is almost bone dry. I'd say firmly dry. A mild to moderate bitterness. Is not really that bitter. It's pretty sweet at the forefront, but the dryness really helps. And the dryness is that oak tannin dryness I get. And there's, on the sides of the tongue, a lot of vanilla. Like I said, kind of smelling that bottle opener. It's kind of in the palate. It's like vanilla oak or oaky vanilla. Dare I say vanillins. This is more about the barrel. And I feel like when it comes to Manhattans, it's a lot about the spirit. And I think this one's a lot about maybe not the spirit as much as the barrel. So I think they've done a pretty good job with kind of replicating a Manhattan in 12% barrel-aged beer form. Does it taste exactly like what I remember Manhattan being? Not exactly, but it's in that realm. It's kind of close. There is a huge warming in my chest. Nothing on the palate that would indicate, again, a super astringent booziness. It's boozy. It's fucking 12%. You kind of anticipate. Like I said, I guess like 10.5, 11 if I was doing blind. So it hides it a little bit, but like my chest is now on fire. Like, I'll be honest with you, it's starting to really ramp up. Love the glass lacing. Glass lacing is fantastic. A lot of the beers recently, the glass lacing's been fucking dynamite. Doesn't really mean as much, but like it's still cool. This is a sipper of a beer. This is a beer that I'll probably drink over the next hour, hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours. But I have no problems with this. So here's the thing. I think if you were a Manhattan cocktail connoisseur, somebody who maybe drinks it religiously, like every day or maybe like, 3 to 5 times a week or whatever, you might not find this to your liking. Like, it probably doesn't replicate it as well as I'm saying it does, because again, it's not something I drink. It's a little bit too much for me, Manhattans, although I did like the flavor. But what I remember of the Manhattan flavor, I think this does a pretty solid job of replicating it. It's a 12% beer, so it's hard to replicate something that's, much higher ABV and has a couple different ingredients where, with beers and what they're doing here, it's much more complex in terms of the ingredients they're using. I I do enjoy this one. I just don't love it. I like it, but I don't love it. I think that's the best way to describe this one. I think it's really well made. It's crazy that they put this in their year-round lineup. That's one thing that I think is kind of wild to me. So Manhattan Shine from Ommegang. I'm going to give this a high 4 out of 5 and go 4.1 out of 5. I think that's where I would land this one. I'm not gonna speak anymore on how well they did in terms of replicating a Manhattan in beer form, because again, I've had it once, so that's the memory I'm going off of. But if you had this one before and you do like Manhattans, what do you think? Do you think this came close? Do you not really in the same stratosphere? I would love to hear from people who enjoy the cocktail if this one really did a good job or not. For me, as far as a beer goes, it's a 4.1 out of 5. I like some things about it. I don't like some other things about it, but a 4.1 is a pretty damn good score. And again, it's a year-round bourbon barrel-aged 12% beer, which is just insane to me. There's only a handful off the top of the head that I can think. Like, you got KBS, and from Founders, you got Dragon's Milk from New Holland, but there's not many, specialty releases like this that are year-round at this point. So, anyway, price point availability. I don't remember what I paid for that. What did I pay for that? I think it was maybe like, I want to say a 4-pack of this is like $18 to $20, somewhere in that realm. I want to say I paid like five something for that bottle, so not terrible, considering it's 12% and it's barrel aged and natural flavors, which again, probably the orange and the cherry. So $5 a bottle, I'm not mad at. I gave it 4.1. If you can get it for sub 20% a 4-pack, I think that's not a bad deal. And then availability is Ommegang. It's year round. So if you see Ommegang, this is a year round offer. Doesn't mean you should see it, but you could see it. And I'm sure they have a beer finder on their website you can probably check out. But it's starting to hit me a little bit. Like, I'm starting to feel it a little bit after only taking maybe a half dozen sips. But I'm starting to feel a little bit. It's probably gonna take me a couple hours to drink that, if we're being honest. So I'm going to shut this one down. Like I said, I got a couple more Ommegang beers I'm going to review over the next month and a half, and we'll check them out. This, I'm glad I drank it. I'm glad I picked it up. Would I rebuy this one? Probably not, unless I was in the mood for something that had this specific taste profile to it. But I would recommend, if, again, you like Manhattans or you like big barrel aged, like just imperial beers in general, check out a bottle of this at the very least. Like, you buy a single, I'd say check it out. I don't necessarily know if I would advocate buying an entire 4-pack of this, but it is what it is. So I'm going to shut this one down. I appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer PaTroll. I did mention that it's pretty dry. One thing I will say, for a 12% beer, it's not over the top sweet because of that dryness and that like mild to moderate bitterness. So it's more drinkable from that aspect, which is really nice. Some of these beers can lean too sweet. This did not have that issue. Till the next one. Cheers.